Billiken fans, welcome back. It's Zach Miller and Peter Hale. It's the Midtown Madness Podcast. Before we get going, thank you so much for listening. And if you're watching on YouTube, of course, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. If you're already subscribed and haven't hit the bell icon, you press that button and you'll get notified every time a new episode drops, specifically Monday mornings. It's a new year, but we are still in love with salsa. More specifically, 2 Men in a Garden salsa. You cannot beat 2 Men in a Garden if you are picking up a jar of salsa at the store. In fact, make sure a 2 Men in a Garden product is on your grocery list every week. But if you forget while you're at the grocery store, or you're simply an out-of-town Billiken fan, you can use that QR code at the bottom of the screen or the link in the description. Head over to their website, enter the code MMP, and you can get all the salsa shipped for free. They are the St. Louis Salsa and Pickle Company, bringing you everything from mild to screaming hot salsas, including hot mango and sugar-free. Plus, they have pickles from classic dill to smoky barbecue. Visit them online at 2meninagarden.com. Shop your favorite flavors and learn more about Kitchen Hub STL. Don't forget to follow them on social media at 2Men Salsa on Instagram and Twitter for the latest updates. Speaking of supporting the podcast, guys, we can't thank you enough for the support. We would still not be doing this if you didn't listen or watch us every week. Thank you for hanging out with us. If you're on YouTube, you'll notice another QR code at the bottom of the screen. It's to our Venmo. Certainly we don't expect any donations, but if you're in a position to help the show out, we'd be incredibly appreciative. If you're listening audio only, you can find the link and Venmo address in the description below. Pete, I think we got to tease the people as we do every week. The good, the bad, and the what are we doing here? First of all, I'll give you the good, and I'll be the bad cop.
All right, Zach. What's good this week, I think we can both agree. Men's basketball got out to a great start in A10 play in front of a really big crowd. I think our biggest crowd in years. So really took advantage of that opportunity.
Yeah, they did. The bad, it appears that everyone involved, Chaffetz, Arena, or the athletic department was not necessarily prepared for the big crowd, as there were long lines at concession stands. I went out there at halftime. I was like, there's no chance I'm getting back by the start of the second half. And I know that's not unique to Chaffetz. I've been to NFL games where it takes a quarter to get a bite to eat. But also there were reports of stands being out of items. I think, growing pains, obviously pains that SLU hasn't had to deal with because they have not had the kind of crowds at games. Now, for other events, of course, there have been crowds, not necessarily. I mean, honestly, when I went to wrestling, the concession stands were doing a really good job. Now that might've been about the same, but hopefully that they can pull it together here for the rest of the season, because I expect there to be big crowds the rest of the way.
Yeah, even if they're not as big as they were against St. Joe's, I think we're going to get a bump from that. But Zach, what are we doing here this week?
What is going on with the male enhancement ad on the NBC Sports coverage of A10 basketball?
Yeah, I mean, I guess with some of these streaming well, I guess it's not streaming.
That's on
right?
USA.
Yeah, no, I was okay. I was just gonna say on some of the streamers, you do get the same ads every break, but I guess you're right. This is straight up cable. I don't watch much cable anymore. I guess that's what's going on over there.
Like, this is the ad, if you haven't seen it, is for Friday something or other. Friday Plans, I think is what it's called, which is a dumb name. Game was on Saturday. I don't know. But essentially it was for Discount Cialis. It's basically every ad that you got while watching adult videos on the internet in early 2000s. You know what I mean? Like, I'm surprised they didn't show like a cartoonish, like I don't like, it was just, it's insane. It's AI audio. He's like, I'll take 100 milligrams. Thank you very much. Like, it's the most bizarre thing. And here's the thing. I texted you, like, I think SLU should do a sponsorship with a cannabis dispensary. Like, what's the difference if SLU, like, if there's an issue with substances being advertised by college athletics. And then I have to watch a dick pill advertisement. That's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I mean, as to what the rules are about what the USA and or NBC family of networks can advertise during college sports, I don't know. I sent you a link to like what was supposed to be prohibited, and I believe cannabis is one of them, as are the as you're referring to. But I don't know anymore,
I
Zach. I really don't know. I don't.
look, if it's banned, come up with a unique way to get the advertisement. Do it out in front, proper entrance, right? Or like hippos, the hippos entrance, or one of these, Suede or Key or whatever. I don't know.
Right.
Do it outside the building. Figure something out. Get some revenue going that way. It's a big industry right now that's spending a lot of money. But let's talk men's basketball, Pete. A 102-79 win at home against St. Joe's on Wednesday, December 31st, New Year's Eve. Pete, I harp on the in-game production value, and I still think it needs elevation. But I thought the department did a pretty good job on Wednesday night. And when I say that, I mean it's like 15 pieces of flair in office space.
Sure.
This is the minimum. They did a good job. You had a large crowd in the building. They did well during timeouts. I will say this. I really appreciated the department using persons who could throw souvenir balls and shirts into the second level. And I texted you this, and you got back to me and you said, flippantly, Pete, what did you say?
We care about different things.
Yeah. And look, I get it. It seems trivial, but you've got so many people in the 200 level that are seeing their first Billiken game for the first time. It's important. Like, it's not important to throw the balls and the shirts to the people that are there every time. Get it up to the 200s, get it up to the cheap seats, make everyone feel included so that they feel a certain way about their experience and about coming back. And I would say every promotion should use fans from the upper level. You should go up there. Like, if there's the hat dance or whatever, go up there and interview them in the upper deck. Let them know that if you come to a game and you sit in the upper level, you've got a chance to do some cool stuff. I want to see Billiken Athletics really key in on that casual fan and really get their claws into them.
Yeah, we've talked about a lot, game day stuff a lot. And I think when you texted me that about the ball throwing specifically, it was in the middle of this game, right? And I'm just like what are you talking about right now? Like I'm so like focused on this game and what's happening and what we're running and who's playing well and what's going on with the rebounding and then I get that text. I'm just like I don't know. It's just I was not feeling it at the moment. But I will say this, Zach. At Xavier games, because you've always complained about, and I think we talked about this recently, cheerleaders not being able to get the balls up past the eighth row or whatever. What Xavier does at their games is they actually send some of them up to the 200 level.
Yeah.
So they'll come out of the tunnel, right? And they'll go up on the stairs and throw them from there. So it's almost like they've got two different levels of cheerleaders throwing to them. So that way they do serve the 200s while acknowledging most people aren't going to be able to throw a ball up to the last row.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that. Absolutely. You send the dancers out a little bit early when you know the ball toss or the t-shirt toss is coming out. Or, why not just get some students, some fraternity guys, give them some Billiken gym shorts and a Billiken t-shirt and send them out on the court at these timeouts. Let the dancers do the dancing, let the cheerleaders do the cheering. And because I thought it was great. Like, the guys went out there, they threw the balls to the upper level, the cheerleaders. Now, I was told that it was because the dancers might not have been there for this game, which is weird. Anyway, I don't know why, but doesn't matter. Anyway, it should really, I appreciate them making a point to throw it into the 200 levels, and I hope that continues. However, they do it.
Mhm.
Let's talk about the actual stuff on the court, the things most people care about. The Billikens shot the lights out in this game.
Yeah, 60% from three in the first half. And unfortunately, Zach, St. Joe's kept it pretty close by getting 9 offensive rebounds.
Yeah, I thought St. Joe's um, kept it. St. Joe's scared me with the way they opened up the game shooting the ball as well. But what did you watching that first half? We go into the locker room up what nine,
Nine.
eight, nine, and what was your feeling going into the locker room? And then,
Mhm.
what'd you expect from that second half?
So what I think what I tweeted out was like, look, we're not going to shoot 60% from three in the second
Ah,
half. We're
ah,
just not Nostradamus here. So I'm like, but look, 40% is realistic. Like they were giving us a lot of space on the perimeter, and of course I expected them to make adjustments. But it was clearly a game where we had already by that point had a lot of different guys hitting threes. So I said, look, 40% plus is totally realistic, but let's grow this margin. Let's make it a double-digit margin, cleaning up the defensive glass and some of the other things going on the defensive end that just weren't as clean as they should be. Get ourselves good looks from three, good looks at the rim, and we're going to grow the margin here, and we'll be fine. Zach, what I did not expect was to continue that shooting into the second half.
yeah, they were fantastic. You know, Before that break, though, the Billikens led by seven, a total of seven different times, which is fun to say.
So it was super weird. It was like we kept hitting a ceiling, like kept hitting a ceiling, you know?
Dion Brown made a layup for a 9-point lead at the break. And I'm going to mention this later because Dion Brown was all over the place in this
Yeah.
game. But Schertz was clearly not happy with the defense.
No, it was funny because you were up 9. I think we had scored what 49 at half. It was 49-40, I believe. And he was just like you could see it in his face immediately that he wasn't happy. And so they asked him, I guess Troy had asked him whatever the question was, general question, how was the first half? And right away it was just the defense. He was not happy about the defense. There was a lot he didn't like on the defensive end. And it was like, whoa, okay. I'm not sure all of those issues were completely fixed in the second half, Zach, but the offense was so good, continued to be so good, even outscoring what they did in the first half, that it mostly didn't matter.
No, the Billikens, like you said, you and I both said, really,
Yeah.
they nearly replicated what they did in that first half. They went 58.8% from three in the second. 19 3-pointers set a new program record for a single game. They clearly hit the over on the total number of 3-pointers, whatever it was.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
What was your view from home? Because it was just kind of wild. They just kept putting them up and they kept going in.
We've talked about this a lot with this team. It's just like there's so many guys who can shoot the ball that when you have one of these games where clearly a lot of guys are feeling it, right? More than one, we're just going to be that dangerous. But Shirt said there are going to be games where we only hit 5 or 6 or 7 threes, and maybe it's just one or two, or not anybody who's really feeling it. So the defense has to get better. But I thought a big reason they were able to hit this record, Zach, Robbie Avila. Not just because he himself went 4 of 8 from outside, but because he had a career high or tied a career high with 8 assists,
Are,
just finding guys on the perimeter all day.
are you shocked that his career high in assists is only 8?
I kind of was because he's such a
That's
good
weird.
passer. He's
Yeah.
been that trigger man for 4 years now. I thought like there must be some game where like especially on Indiana State where they had all those cutters. And you just thought like okay they must have played some cupcake at some point where he was just lights out with it. But no, he was great with his passing. He was creating some of that space with that dribble handoff, but also he was finding guys open outside when he had the ball inside. He'd get kind of mid-high lane and just kind of pivot and find somebody open on the three-point line, and they were hitting. And then he also led SLU with the season high 20 points. So I thought he was just fantastic in this game.
One thing we saw pointed out on Twitter with a little video clip was the action that Slew's running off of when they bring the ball up, when Robbie's trailing,
Love that.
where
Yeah,
it's so simplistic and but so effective, and that was part of his 4 of 8.
it
Was
was. Yep.
was getting shots through that. Go watch it. Who was it? Was it Sperber who posted that?
I'll have to go back and look, and I'll tell you. I'll look at it next time
Okay.
that you're talking for a little bit. But it was all about the flare screen, right? About like they
Yeah.
come across half court, and one of the first things they're looking to do, Jordan Sperber, you're right, hoop at Hoop Vision 68. One of the first things they're always looking to do is to take Robbie's man and just kind of casually throw one of our guys in front of him, give him a little bit of screen, just enough for Robbie to have space to shoot. And it's great. And what you find in this video, a lot of times they do it when Otieno's out there with them, but they'll also have Amari McCautry or somebody like that do it as well. Those are the two in this video who keep popping up over and over as doing that to free up Robbie. Fantastic stuff, though.
Robbie, of course, was not the only person that was on fire from three. 6 different players got in the act. Quentin Jones, 17 points in this one, 6 of 9, 3 of 4, 2 of 4. He needs to clean up that free throw shooting, right?
He does. He is very quietly having a very, very good season that I hope over the course of it, people are appreciating what he's putting together.
Remember when we would talk about, was it Warlick? I forgot about damn Warlick, like in The Hangover. I forgot about the damn Tiger. I forget about Quentin Jones, and I feel like he's the player that teams are going to forget. The opposing teams are going to forget in their scout. And that's where he's getting a lot of his action from.
He's been arguably our most consistent player, right? I mean, he's just kind of like a triple nickel threat every night, but he's scoring kind of 12 to 15 and 5-ish rebounds, 4-ish assists, and just doing it every night. And this was no exception.
Swish on, Sharma. It's reached the official accounts. I'm honored.
Yes.
I'm honored, people. 5 of 8 from outside. He had 16 points overall, tying his career high. And the way Brady Dunlap talked about him in his post game was, I mean, mythical.
Dunlap's he seems like a great locker room guy. You know, you love him if he's on your team. But it was clear to me in this game that Sharma was feeling it when he hit that one over on the right elbow, kind of where he
hunted it.
Yeah, he hunted it and then he faded, right? Like he faded to one side. You know, I always talk about how lethal he is when he squares up, and he still can square up, you know, when you're fading like that. But when he hit that one, I thought, okay, today's his day. 5 for 8. And what I've loved to watch now is it seems like more than any other Slew player, he's the one getting the Jimerson treatment from defenses where they're just like hunting him down on the perimeter. Like, it doesn't matter where he is,
which
they're
is
chasing
crazy.
him down. They've got a hand on his waistband. Like they're trying to get him anywhere he is. And it is kind of crazy because the funny thing is we've got so many guys who shoot so well. And yet he's the one. I think because that's always his A1 look, right?
Yeah, he's the one that's not going to get to the hoop necessarily.
That's right.
Got the guys we're going to mention next. Trey Green will get to the hoop. Brady Dunlap has shown a little bit more of that Jimerson triple threat.
Yep.
And then of course Dion Brown, just a dog. And we're gonna talk about him effusively. Trey Green, I mentioned his name. All of his 12 points were from the perimeter. 4 of 5 from 3. That's just ridiculous. Brady Dunlap. I mean, he just continues to get better and better, more comfortable in the system. He goes for 10 in this one, 6 and 4. 10, 6 and 4. Shooting 2 of 3 from beyond the arc. He was also the best at plus minus in this one.
Plus 30 in just 24 minutes. Fantastic game for him. Early in the game, it was just like, okay, he's clearly earned his minutes, because when we started the season, Zach, he was the clear like number 9 out of the 10-man rotation. And now it's just like those 1-9 has just been blown up because Dunlap and some of those other guys have really proven themselves. But he really has earned his minutes. But a guy you said we wanted to talk about a little bit more today, Dion Brown made his only 3-point attempt to finish with 7 points. He made that layup at the end of the first half, had 2 blocks. He was a little bit neutralized offensively or defensively in this game by some soft foul calls. I thought he ended up with 4. But Zach, I think we got to talk about him a little bit deeper.
Yeah, we need to make a pit stop to talk about Dion. Look, he's the heart and soul of this team, and he's utterly relentless. I watched a video on Bud Clark, Adam Bud Clark, who plays for Seton Hall. And I got to say, I am not like in how relentless he is on the defensive end and just a water bug. And I really think Dion is a better player than Bud Clark. I mean, it's just phenomenal. I can't, he just leaves me speechless at multiple points of a game. He keeping a rebound alive by batting the ball up like a balloon multiple times, getting a deflection, pressuring the loose ball to secure possession, off and out of bounds. And then you mentioned the layup before halftime. That was a play where he retrieved the ball on the student section baseline that I'm pretty sure everybody gave up on.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like, this is the kind of guy you mentioned a locker room guy with Brady Dunlap. This is the quiet locker room guy, the lead by example guy every night.
Yeah, although in post-game interviews, or the little halftime interviews and stuff too, he's also been pretty animated and seems to really believe in this selflessness that we see on the court. It's not just like a guy who has those instincts on the floor. I mean, he really thinks it too. Like he's out there, like he does not care about his own stats. He doesn't care about anything but winning. He always has things to say about his teammates. And building them up. And I think he kind of understands his role and just knows how to squeeze the most out of it. He's a joy to watch doing those little things.
Who was the quarterback that pulled up for a loose ball, a fumble? Who was the NFL quarterback? Do you remember that? Was it Jameis? It was, I don't know I don't remember. Anyway, that ain't happening with Dion Brown.
No.
Dion Brown's getting that ball.
Yeah. Yeah. He puts his body on the line. That's for sure.
Amari McCautry back from illness, a little bit quiet in this one.
Yeah, just 2 points. He missed all 3 of his outside shots. None of them were shots where I was like, no, don't take it. You know, they were fine. They were wide open. But he made some really nice passes for 3 assists. I started out, Zach, thinking in this game we had good Amari. I think he made some really nice passes early, but we got some of the bad side too. You'll just chalk it up to a little bit of inconsistency, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, it's one of those games where he can fade into the background, and that's okay. There's going to be games where a guy like Dion Brown, a guy like Swishan, Brady, any of these guys are going to fade to the background in a given game because we have so many guys.
You don't absolutely need 10 guys to have a great game.
No. Kellen Thames didn't make a 3-pointer in this game, but that was about the only black mark on his record in this one. Holy shit.
Yeah, that was just kind of the framing device in this game because everybody was shooting threes. But in his 20 minutes, he was anything but quiet. Steals, dunks, instant energy that you can count on from him. He had 9 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and then he was plus 20 in 20 minutes, second on the team to Dunlap. I just like every game he comes in and you cannot take your eyes off him.
No, to say that he was instant energy in this one would be just completely accurate. By the time Ackerman and T-Rob acknowledged his entry, he had a steal.
Yeah.
It was,
right.
and then he had that bucket right after.
I know, they're talking about him in one way, and then they have to transition immediately to go, okay, look at what he's doing right now. It was funny.
Not as good as my transitions, but they're doing well.
Right.
That windmill dunk in the second half was outrageous.
Yeah, and shout out to Troy's son's friend who got that on his iPhone, and it looks like a professional, like just incredible courtside photo. But in real time, I thought that dunk played better than in any of the sort of replays we got later. It was just fantastic, and it's crazy how fast and how hard he swings that ball around. I'm glad St. Joe's defender didn't try and make a play on it because he would have been humiliated or injured. But yeah, that was one of the dunks of the year so far.
That if that photo ends up blown up on our thumbnail, I'll write the what $5-10 check, whatever, to that kid if he demands it. Just kidding. I'm exercising my right as an adult to steal from children. Um, Paul Otieno, he had a good game in this one.
Yeah. 9 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks, including one on a two-handed dunk attempt. That fantastic no call. They got that absolutely right. He looked a lot more comfortable within the system, Zach. I think we really got a nice game out of him.
I think that my reaction to his block on that two-handed dunk attempt was probably bigger than the Kellen Thames dunk.
Yeah.
I thought that was just one of the most spectacular athletic defensive plays we've seen in the front court since Willie Reed.
Yeah, and it's I think part of the reason why is because it was so like when Kellen gets a steal and he's got a breakaway, you're like, oh, this is going to be great, right? But that block had the element of surprise because you're kind of like, okay, he's got good position on him, but probably going to have to take a foul here, which is okay. But then he got the block and just read the ball perfectly.
Out of nowhere.
Right. And so I think that's kind of what made it even more of a reaction than the dunk, as you say.
What did you think about Paul Otieno finally making his mark in this one? Do you think it was a case of a proper matchup for him with Ajaba? I had to write that in phonetic.
Oh man,
I had to write that phonetically.
I've been saying his name wrong ever since he showed up. So I think that's part of it. And I was nervous about that matchup, to be honest, at first, because as you say, he's so big. Like Ajaba, he's just a massive human, I think, as you put it, Zach. He's a really big guy, and that's one of those things like that struck me immediately in this game. We're coming off of Principia in New Hampshire, and a lot of other teams in December that we were supposed to beat. And this team was clearly bigger and more athletic. And he's one of those guys that immediately you see him on the floor and you're like, that's a big dude. He's got just a big frame. So I think what Otieno had on him and on the other guy was just a little bit more athleticism, right? A little bit more mobility.
The Billikens did a great job protecting the ball. They only had 7 turnovers in this game, but they only forced 6 turnovers out of the Hawks, Pete.
I know. Yeah, SLU has had on the season overall, a turnover margin deficit. It's just not an area of strength for them. Stu pointed it out recently. I've been looking at it all season. So that wasn't a huge surprise that they had fewer than us, but it does kind of still surprise me, Zach, how few turnovers they're able to force most of the time. It's weird, right? Because you immediately think of like Thames, steal, and dunk, and you're kind of like, we really only do that a couple times a game.
Yeah, it's the highlight of the game, but it only happens.
Right.
And, a lot of it, I mean, I would consider that Dion Brown play, I mean, I guess that's in there. It's likely in there. But I wonder, I want to talk about the foul situation because the Billikens had 18 fouls called on them compared to just 12 for the Hawks. The way this was written in the notes was very much, hey, like not something worth spending too much time on given the score, and that we don't get home cooking. But I do wonder with this offense, we're shooting a ton of threes. We're getting easy baskets. I don't know if that's a great recipe to get fouled.
It's totally fair. A game where we hit 19 3-pointers. That's right. We're not just grinding away, taking it at the rim. It's not like that Stanford game where we're trying to, frustratingly just kind of, get to the rim and we're not taking very good shots. We were getting good shots. We were making good shots. So I totally get that. I think my point in this was it just didn't feel like a game where we committed 50% more fouls than them, right? Like they're a big athletic physical team. And I thought there were also 4 or 5 really soft whistles on SLU in a game where they mostly let they let the teams play. They let the physicality happen. So that's where I found the disparity just a little bit surprising. Their starting lineup too, Zach, combined for 3 total fouls. Have you ever seen that? Like, I can't even remember that before, where you've got 5 starting players playing 20 plus minutes or whatever. 3 fouls between all of them is insane. So, I guess credit to St. Joe's, but at the same time, maybe they should have fouled more because we scored 102 on them.
The Billikens held the Joeys, as some people say. I don't know. It's weird. The Joe Lenardis to a slash line of 419-360-750. We said earlier that the defense needs some work, especially early on in this one.
Yeah, well, like you said early on, they were making shots. SLU and St. Joe's were trading baskets for what felt like more than half of the first half. Like the first, call it 60% to 2/3 of that first half, just trading buckets, right? Before SLU started to kind of grab some of those margins that they couldn't quite build up. St. Joe's actually ended up with 5 guys scoring in double digits, including Jaden Glover Toscano with 23 points. He's the top guy now that Deuce Jones is gone. He's a very good shooter. I thought that the Hawks had a little bit more talent than Hawk Hill Hardwood let on last week when we had him on the show. It's just not as much depth now that Jones is gone or that top end talent. If he had stayed and hadn't been a head case, I think this team is capable of beating anyone in the league. So I do want to give them some credit. But like I said in the beginning, Schertz was just not, he wasn't happy with the defense throughout the game. It wasn't just a first half issue for him.
Excuse me. The Hawks grabbed 14 offensive rebounds, 9 of those in the first half. They won the second chance point battle 19-7. If there's one complaint to be had about the Billikens in this game, is this it, or is the defense a bigger problem?
Well, I think they go hand in hand. It's defensive rebounding. They had, I think, 9 offensive rebounds in the first half, 5 in the second. So you can argue they cleaned it up. Not all the way, obviously. But like I said, Schertz wasn't happy with the defensive effort for the whole game. He praised the offense, said it was as good as it could be, but that it had to be that good because, quote, we did not guard them at all. I thought we had stretches where we did some good things defensively, but our offense carried us. You could pretty much name something defensively, and it would be an F level. He said on an average shooting night, we may have lost. So it sounds, Zach, like defense will be the focal point heading into practice in the week that they have to prepare for VCU.
Yeah, gonna be a lot of playing without the ball. If Schertz goes the old school route.
Yeah.
Let's see. The Billikens' depth really showed in this one, and I think that is going to be the Billikens' strength. I think we've thought about it since those first few games.
For sure. Yeah, it highlighted what an advantage that depth is. 44 bench points compared to just 16 for the Hawks. And it's no wonder to me, Zach, that when when things really blew open was the second half. I think we're going to continue to see that pattern play out, maybe not against VCU, but over the course of the season. Tighter first halves maybe than we want in some of these tricky A10 road games. And then the depth is just going to overwhelm teams over the course of a game. You can keep relatively fresh legs. You've got shooters everywhere. So I would expect that pattern to play out more than once.
Pete, you've been touting my prediction ability when it comes to scoring 100 points in a game. I said 6 games, correct? You've been keeping track. I haven't thought about this hardly at all.
Yep.
Except for right now, because it's in the notes. I think we're going to get more than 6.
Yeah, well, I think it was when we had 3, Zach. You said I think we're going to get at least 3 more, and we've already done.
Okay.
We're already staring at 6, and now if you're saying more than 6, I think that's probably a safe prediction. If you're going to get no offense to anybody else in the conference, but if you're going to get Fordham, if you're going to get 2 cracks at LaSalle, there's definitely some teams in the bottom half of this league where I think we're going to have another one of these nights at least once. Probably more than once. But yeah, 6, that extends the program record. And then 102 tied the most points SLU has scored against a conference opponent, having scored 102 most recently against LaSalle in 2024. Wild season, but did it then nonetheless. And Zach, here's your favorite stat. I know points per possession, 1.619. Stu Durando pointed out that the offensive efficiency was a new program record since they've been able to track that, or since Ken Palm's been keeping it, or whatever, beating the previous record set at the Central Michigan game. So this team continues to just break record after record after record, Zach, and set new marks for the program while you come off mute.
You're unbelievable. The Billikens led by as much as 28, but the 23-point margin of victory, it still beat the line.
Yeah, I think it was 20.5 set by the odds makers, and most of the analytical spreads were in that kind of 21 range, maybe down 20 or 19, which kind of honestly, I don't know how much I don't know what it did for you, but like when I see that kind of spread for a conference game, I get really nervous, right? It's not like end of the season Fordham at home. Like St. Joe's has historically been a little feistier than a team that you beat
Yes,
by 20 points.
they are historically a program not to be trifled with,
Right.
not to be taken for granted. There was definitely a large portion of the crowd that was aware of the implications of the last possession.
Yeah.
They were sweating it out, including a group of dudes in front of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was another cluster of a play.
Yeah.
Like it
That la-
reminded me
so
of it reminded me
that
of Bonaventure
yeah,
in
yeah.
the A10 championship.
It was that last possession. St. Joe's, I think, had multiple attempts at a three-pointer
Mm-hmm.
that would have taken the margin from 23 down to 20,
Mm-hmm.
thereby flipping that result. I mean, the odds makers know what they're doing.
I wonder how many of the players know.
Ooh,
Like
I
I'm not saying like that they are um like I'm not saying there's anything nefarious. I'm just curious if they like are aware of it.
the thing, at the very least, the coaches are aware of like the analytical spread, right? Like
Yeah.
because if the net rankings want you to beat a team by a certain amount, they have to be aware of that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's not going to dictate everything they do, but if you're starting to walk on a razor's edge, like kind of on the bubble all season, you're going to want to beat those margins if you can, and your instinct might be to put in a walk on or a freshman or something like that, and maybe you don't do that if you're trying to get a certain margin of victory. So I have seen coaches say that they don't want margin of victory to be a determinant, right? Like they just rather play for the win or the loss, and I think that it's probably part of the reason why.
Speaking of wins and losses, the win streak is now at 7. The Billikens are 13-1 on the season. That is the best start since the 93-94 team started 14-0.
That team really like I forgot that they started off that hot. That was the team that really kicked off that mid 90s attendance boom that we saw for this program that lasted into kind of the late 90s. The peak of the spoonball era. Fantastic stuff. It's also 14 straight wins at Chaifetz Arena, stretching back to last season. But Zach, I think the most important thing here is a little bit more subjective. We've talked about all of these numbers, more of the objective measures. But bottom line to me is SLU had a pretty full arena, and we gave fans a reason to keep coming back. How many times have we seen this program blow momentum or miss a big opportunity?
Mhm.
The most recent one that comes to mind for me is that home game against Dayton last year after the VCU game. We had some national attention, tons of local attention after the win, the brawl in the stands against VCU, and then just completely belly flopped in the follow-up against Dayton. But this time they delivered in a big way, tons of scoring, three-pointers, dunks, blocks, guys just having fun out there. This team is fun, and some new people found out, Zach, because attendance was 92-18 is what it was announced at. So I got to ask you, like, as someone watching from 350 miles away, what was the experience like in person? Did you see a lot of new faces? What was the vibe like?
I mean, there was a ton of new faces. Like when it gets to that, you don't see the people that you see all the time.
Yeah.
So when I don't see people that I know like that, I don't notice that I see more people. I notice that I'm not seeing the people that I expect to see. The crowd was good. It was a little late arriving. I know, again, there were parking issues and traffic issues, which needs to get sorted out. Although I'm glad that interchange at 40 and I don't know,
Compton.
Broadway or whatever. Yeah, sure. Why not? 40 in Compton has kind of, the construction is finished. They did like block off the secret spot that I park in. They've been doing that lately.
Mm.
I'm not going to say where it's at. But like, I don't know. It obviously some of the parking, I believe it got taken up by the Champion Center a little bit, right? Or no? I don't remember. I don't think so. But no, I imagine if you put in the work, like imagine if you take all those people out of the student section that were GA tickets and you put them in the seats, and then you have students in attendance. That place is packed to the gills, Pete.
Yeah. That's a good point, Zach. It's a good point. But do you think, I don't know. I mean, what do you think the difference in energy was by maybe not having the students there and just having a lot of other people in those?
I thought they were great, honestly. I thought they did really well. They were getting up and kind of doing as well as you could expect a group of lay people, I guess you'd call them.
Yeah.
In that section. So they did, try to distract free throws and, got into the chants. And, we did have some students there. We had 6 or 7, I think. So they were, standing in front. So the general admission fans kind of got their cues from them. Yeah, it was a good time. Vibes were good. I just need SLU to build on this. Of course, there are pains that come with a large crowd. Like I said, traffic, parking, concession lines, bathrooms were no problem. Everything was fine there. I was super, super happy with how everything went as far as the in-game experience. And I was kind of disappointed. The crowd was late arriving, but it really looked bad in the all-inclusive behind the scores table. There was almost an entire section that was empty. And that sucked. But
you always see that on TV too, right? Like those.
That's
the
right in the,
seats.
it's right behind the benches. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's an unfortunate thing about watching it on TV. I always kind of cringe. Like I know why it's like that, but other, non-biased viewers like coming in, dropping in on a SLU game are going to see that and be like, man, what's going on there? It just doesn't look good.
No, it doesn't. I think that ties a bow on this game.
Yeah. Great opening game for A10 play. And Zach, we have a chance to build on that momentum with what might be the game of the year at VCU this Wednesday.
Yes, we do. And we are going to talk about that right now as we kick it over to an interview with Zach Joachim of the Richmond Times-Dispatch. And then after that, stick around for our chat with the Gola Boyz about our upcoming game at John Glazer, aka Gola Arena, Saturday, January 10th. Billiken fans, we have a guest for you this week to preview the VCU game on Wednesday in Richmond. And that is Zach Joachim of the Richmond Times-Dispatch. He is the deputy editor of their sports coverage. He's a VCU alum, reports on everything Rams. Zach, welcome to the Midtown Madness Podcast.
Fellas, what's up? Thank you so much for having me on. This is very cool to preview what's going to be a phenomenal game between these two programs. And with the name pronunciation, I always tell people like Joaquin Phoenix. That's the reference.
Okay. Got it. I see. As a St. Louisan, I thought Joaquin Andahar with an M, which is a very that is a reference beyond my years. though they're now vast. VCU has a new coach this year in Phil Martelli, who, by the way, I don't like his face. I'm just saying, like I don't hate the guy. I don't have any reason to hate him. I just don't want to look at his face.
He's an incredibly kind guy.
I'm sure he's a lovely fella.
And as far as I covered Ryan Odom the last 2 years, Ryan Odom also a very nice guy, but two very different communication styles, like in press conferences, right? Like Ryan Odom is at UVA now, and he's more buttoned up, right? I mean, it was harder to get quotable things from Ryan Odom. Like it was a lot of coach speak, right? Like he might take 4 minutes answering your question with what at the end of the day was a good deal. Not pontification, but like, he would talk for a while about it, and you'd exhaust time in the press conference, maybe not get the answer you were looking for. Phil is more of a straight shooter. So I enjoy his press conferences a great deal. And he's an awesome guy with an awesome family. And I think this program is enjoying him so far, on and off the court.
You used pontification. This interview is off to a flying start. Did you know, by the way, I just figured this out or just realized it, that Ryan Odom was you knew that Ryan Odom was the UMBC coach that beat Virginia.
Oh yeah.
Which is a hilarious. They were just like, well, if you can't, they really did. If you can't beat them, join them.
No, that was a crazy cool saga. And like he was, I think, kind of always destined to end up there because what's more, his dad, Dave Odom, was an assistant at UVA under Terry Holland back in like the 80s. So Ryan Odom, we have photos of him as like a young kid wearing a UVA shirt going to Cavaliers practice. And his dad was then the head coach at Wake Forest for a long time, but he grew up around the Cavaliers program. I think that place is really in his heart. And so as far as like amicable endings for former VCU coaches in recent years, this was the best one. Because when Mike Rhodes left for Penn State, when Will Wade left for LSU, he's now at NC State. There was a great deal of consternation and anger among the fan base. So when I was at VCU 2014 and 2018, I had 3 different head coaches. Freshman year was Shaka Smarts last year, and then Will Wade in the in-between years, and then Mike Rhodes when I graduated. So obviously a program that's gotten used to a lot of coaching turnover over the years.
And what's so interesting to me.
Hold on. I have one more question. I swear. Coming in that 14-15 season, you got to see your introduction was to the Billikens was that 14. Like what was your kind of reaction seeing that team and then seeing it fall off the way it did? I'm curious.
I mean, I'll be honest, I'm certainly not an expert on St. Louis. I was going to try and, learn stuff about the program history from y'all. I know that. But I mean, those were in the years where the A10 was getting was that when they were getting 4, 5, 6 teams in the tournament, right? Yep. And so I think of the conference holistically in that time and of St. Louis and the success at that point being an example of that, right? And I think that, that's part of the narrative surrounding Wednesday's game a little bit, right? So these are probably the only 2 teams with a realistic shot at Nat Large right now, as far as how the metrics go. St. Louis a better shot at it than VCU, but VCU still on the periphery of that conversation. And a win Wednesday would be massive for them in that reason. And so I think obviously everyone around those 2 programs, but everyone around the A10 is hoping that it can get back to the point of being a multi-bid league. If we started with 2, that'd be great. But if we could get back to the days where it was 4, 5, 6 teams, then that'd be awesome. Was that a historic St. Louis season?
It was during a historic period. Yeah, okay. We had 3 straight teams that made it to the second round of the NCAA tournament. So we were just consistently very good those 3 years, and then fell off a cliff hard. Yeah. So
I was just curious to get an outsider's perspective, really, and that's so.
But Zach stepped on my transition before, because I think one of the interesting things that kind of connects the Odom season last year to the Martelli season this year is you've really kind of had the same arc in non-conference, right? Like played a pretty solid schedule, but didn't really get that signature win. So you've got a few losses, and I'm kind of wondering, like, do you think this is a similar team, like the same level of team? Maybe not top 25 right now, maybe not a win that jumps off paper, but could still roll through the A10 and look pretty solid by March.
I think it's a very different team stylistically and obviously personnel wise, because you had 5 returners and 9 newcomers, 7 transfers, and 2 freshmen. And so VCU like really overhauled and tried to reload in the offseason, as is the norm for so many programs in the transfer portal era, right? Especially when you have coaching turnover like that. But yes, to answer your question, the arc has been pretty similar. This year's team hasn't had the losses. I think the MTE would be the big difference, right? Like last year, VC went to Charleston and let games against Seton Hall and Nevada slip away
Yeah.
to start that tournament, and then got a win over Miami to end it. Ended up being a really bad Miami team. Seton Hall, my goodness, dragged their resume down over the course of the rest of the season. And they had a good Nevada team on the ropes, and that could have been a hang your hat on it non-conference win. And that really hurt VCU the rest of the season. They ended up getting the auto bid by winning the A10 tournament. I've seen a lot of competing things after last year about whether that team would have gotten an at-large. Given the seed that they got, I think probably not.
Yeah, maybe first team out.
Yeah, they would have been right there. And so it's kind of been life on the bubble, a lot for like the past decade. There's so many years where VCU is hovering right in this area. This season, better at the MTE, right? South Florida's looking like a pretty solid win. Virginia Tech looking like a pretty solid win, although it was a Virginia Tech team missing a huge piece in former VCU player Toby the Wall, who is, I think, still not back for the Hokies, although they got a big win over UVA in triple overtime. That game was wild. So a lot of VCU fans in Richmond will be rooting for Virginia Tech and Blacksburg the rest of the season, and then lost handily to a great Vanderbilt team. But yes, there's certainly been missed opportunities in non-conference play. NC State and Utah State, 6-point loss to NC State, had every chance to win that game, and then against Utah State, maybe should have won that game, and ended up losing to them by 3 on a neutral floor. The thing that's kind of dragging this team down, and I don't want to say dragging them down because New Mexico is a good team, but was a home loss to New Mexico because it's so hard for VCU to. I mean, this is the case for St. Louis and a lot of A10 programs of the same caliber, right? For Dayton as well, to get good non-conference opponents to come to the Siegel Center or to come to Chaffetz and or UD Arena, etc. So the fact that they had a home and home with New Mexico and kind of let that game slip away, I think is what took a little air out of the season. And then you just had a few cupcakes after that weren't going to build your resume that you needed to beat by 30 plus points. And so now as they're getting into A10 play, I mean, I think SLU is definitely the marquee game at the Siegel Center over the whole course of the season, right? It's an enormous opportunity for VCU, obviously a big challenge. But the crowd, they didn't play great against Bonaventure last Wednesday. They were down 77-71 with 6 minutes to go in that game. And they couldn't get any stops. And then the crowd was enormous down the stretch and uplifting them. And they flipped the switch defensively and finished the game on, what's my math there? I forget exactly what the 18-5 run or something along those lines, I think, to end up beating Bonaventure 89-82. And so they'll need that again on Wednesday because I was just trying to check out the metrics to get a little familiarized with St. Louis before. And the effective field goal percentage, the 3-point percentage, I mean, everything on KenPom told me that this is a really good team. Albeit, and I would want to ask you guys about this, what's your perception of the schedule that's been played, right? Because a lot of VCU fans wanted to ask about that. Feeling like VCU's been challenged a little more, right? Santa Clara is a really good team. San Francisco is a solid team. Is that kind of it in terms of the strong opponents that the Billikens have played so far?
Yeah,
Stanford,
I mean,
Stanford's
not bad.
I mean,
Yeah.
they just went out and beat somebody.
They
Wisconsin?
No, they it was an ACC win. They beat somebody ranked. Zach.
Oh,
It
they
was,
are in the ACC. aren't
NC
they?
State was it?
I'm not used to Stanford in the ACC either.
I know it's so weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they beat a ranked opponent. It doesn't.
So what happened? We were in a big MTE called the Acrisure Series. We were in a pod that was supposed to have, what was it, Iowa, Ole Miss, and somebody else better, and then we wound up in a pod with Stanford, Santa Clara, and Minnesota, and it was a huge drop in terms of like the potential net ratings of all 3 of those teams. So that was one thing that happened. We had a big East game that was verbally committed that fell apart. We had a few things like all kind of go wrong. And then we had the back end of some solid home and homes, with like San Francisco, Grand Canyon. So like good solid home and homes, but not marquee opponents. So nobody's really happy with the schedule. We had a few things break wrong. And I think the idea is it's going to take time to, prove ourselves deserving of those opponents coming in. We've seen Dayton get like Marquette and some pretty solid team, Northwestern. They've gotten either home and homes or one-off games with them to like come into their arena. We used to get those every year and we don't anymore. And now we kind of have to win that back. And it's getting harder than ever now that power conferences are playing 20-game schedules and all of the other things going on.
And not to mention, also with that MTE, we got replaced by Grand Canyon, which was big slap in the face. And the reason we got hosed is because we don't travel very well, and we don't travel very well because we've been dog shit, and we've been dog shit because, it's all
two bad coaching hires in a row.
Yeah. So and they don't really do they do well. Never mind. I'm not going to get into it. I've been pissing and moaning about the athletic department for years, and I won't go further down that road.
It seems like Shirts is so far. Are the vibes positive around him?
Slam dunk
home run right now. Yeah, everybody's loving it.
It's he's fantastic. He leans into the Majerus thing quite a bit too, which certainly helps the vibes. I honestly would give all the credit in the world to the Billiken fans out there for making this happen, because like Pete said, 2 bad coaching hires in a row. It was up to the fans to straight let their voice be heard on who they wanted. And, West Pine Bills did a lot, and we helped amplify it. And, the fans got behind it. And I think it really did make a difference when it came to Shirts.
Yeah. Yeah. Certainly, like he credited West Pine Bills. I think they're probably the most prominent, but once his name kind of got in front of the right people, there seemed to be some momentum building over the winter, and they got rid of Travis Ford, and Shirts was the number 1 guy on their list, and they got him. So yeah, it really was after two bad hires in a row and a couple extensions that we cannot figure out, given to Travis Ford for no reason. It was an expensive mistake, but they really got the right guy now. And yeah, he's an offensive minded coach. He's great. We love him. But one thing that stands out as different to us about VCU, they're more offensive minded this year. It seems like capable of much bigger offensive performances. And we've seen 300+ point games so far, plenty of others in the 80, 90 range. What is different about what they're doing offensively this season than what you've seen before? Because they've never really had that kind of identity.
I think it's 5 consecutive games that they've exceeded 80 points right now, and it's the first time in 50 years that they've done that. I think there's definitely some frustration in the VCU fan base about where the defense is at right now. I think Ken Pom has them at, I want to say, 30th in offensive efficiency and 80th in defensive efficiency. And it's obviously look, we're a long way removed from Shaka Smart and Havoc and that type of VCU style. But it's still a program that the fans feel like that's their identity. And that one of the remits is always to be aggressive, to try and press a little bit, to create turnovers, to cause a little bit of havoc on that side of the floor. I don't think this is a bad defensive team. I just think, even Odom last year, I want to say, had them in the 20s in defensive efficiency. I think part of that, the reason that it hasn't been as good this year, is you're leaning on 4 underclassmen guards, all of whom are really good, and have had flashes this year. The one that hasn't played a whole lot, although he had a really good game against Duquesne on Saturday, is Ahmad Noel, who's a big recruit out of Philadelphia, went to UConn before and transferred in the offseason. But I think that those young guards are still just kind of figuring things out on the defensive end. Brandon Jennings is who's a Richmond native and a St. Christopher's alum, so shares a high school with Gibson Jimerson. Cool connection there, who seemed like he was at St. Louis for a decade, but a Richmond native. And so we always wanted to write stories about Gibson Jimerson whenever VCU was playing St. Louis, or when the University of Richmond was playing St. Louis. Terrence Hill is this team's leading scorer right now. He's been a revelation. He was a Ryan Odom recruit, and I would imagine is probably at or near the top of the scouting report for St. Louis going into this game. He's shooting in the 40s in terms of 3-point percentage. I think he's at about 13.5 points right now. And he showed flashes under Odom, but played sparingly. And like on that team last year, you had Philip Russell, Joe Bamisile, Matt Dolga, Zeb Jackson. Like you had a ton of backcourt experience, and all of those guys graduated and are gone now. And so you replace them with a group of, I think, really talented underclassmen guards. Jennings is a great defender. Like I said, Noel's playing time has been kind of sparing. Nick Lewis is, I think, not just one of the best freshman guards in the A10. I think he's one of the best freshman guards in the country. He's been really good. I think he's A10 Rookie of the Week 3 times. He was at the USA U19 training camp over the summer. I think it was like a top 40 recruit nationally coming out of high school too. He's been outstanding, and that group has great potential and has played really well offensively. The defensive end is still coming along for them. And so, like, specifically against Duquesne the other day, they really struggled guarding high ball screens, and Duquesne got some switches that behooved them and some easy buckets under the basket for that reason. And so, communication-wise on the defensive end, I think you've just got some youth in the backcourt. They're also missing Christian Furman, who I'm sure like fans around the A10 know that name because he's been at VCU for a long time. Now he's had 3 different head coaches. He's a really great rim protector. And so there's not a lot of depth in the front court outside of Lazar Djokovic, who's been phenomenal. And I think the matchup between him and Avila is probably, one of your leading narratives going into this game about what that looks between, I'm sure a guy in Avila who's front runner for A10 Player of the Year right now, looking around the conference. I don't know. Can you guys think of anyone else, who's really in that conversation with him? I'd imagine he's the betting favorite right now.
I'd have to look at stats, but the funny thing is, like, nobody on our team plays over like 24 minutes a game because we go 10 deep. And so everybody's numbers kind of get depressed a little bit because they're playing 19, 22 minutes a game. So even Avila playing a little bit longer minutes still is not playing even close to what he was last season. So his numbers look artificially low. How much that gets factored in, I don't know. A lot of times people are going to look at the counting numbers, the counting statistics, and his aren't going to jump necessarily like you would think. So there's like kind of a cannibalization effect on our team of just being really deep, and the scoring is really spread out. But I don't know, Zach. I mean, is there anybody? I have to look around the league a little bit more. We're just kind of getting started in league play, so I don't have anybody else in mind yet. Rafael Castro and some of the other guys who I knew were going to be good. We'll keep an eye on over the course of the season. But I mean, we're biased, but he's my MVP on SLU.
Everyone's a fraud in this league, especially George Mason.
I watched some of that game against Rhode Island. They ended up winning, right? But it was ugly for a while.
Tony Skin pays, I swear to God, he pays burner accounts to tweet good things about him. I don't understand that. I don't understand how Mason gets hype. I don't get it. I am so glad you guys beat them last year. That's the only time I'll ever root for VCU. You straight up answered our question about Terrence Hill. So thank you for that. We are pretty far removed from the official Havoc days, but it seems like that has stuck around throughout multiple coaching tenures. What's the defensive identity of this team?
They're gonna press occasionally, but obviously not as consistently as those teams did. Djokovic is the leading shot blocker right now, so his rim protection is strong. But like I said, missing Furman, who's like 11th all time in blocks at VCU, I think has hurt them on the defensive end under the rim. And I think, look, one of the things I'm fascinated about this game is the tempo, because the metrics tell you that you guys are like 4th nationally in adjusted tempo, right? Like this team really gets up and down the floor. And Phil Martelli's Bryant teams the last couple of years were top 10 nationally in tempo. Like that was the MO around his style. And he has said a lot, that those Bryant teams didn't get credit for how good they were defensively because of how fast they played, right? And so people see the point totals because opposing teams have so many possessions and they're like, this isn't a great defensive team. And he would probably tell you, well, when we're playing that many possessions per game, then the numbers will be a little inflated and we were better defensively than the metrics really suggest, or just that the raw point totals suggest. But I think that youth in the backcourt, like I said, defines this team. And so there's some missed assignments on the defensive end. I think they're improving as the year goes on. But I mean, Martelli said that, right? 93-80 win at Duquesne on Saturday. He said, the message to this team is putting together a full 40 minutes on the defensive end because they haven't done that for a long time. So they've picked up his system and his style offensively really quick. I think it's been a slower process on the defensive end. Part of that is just the disparate parts of bringing in 9 newcomers on a given year, right? 7 transfers, 2 freshmen, a lot of guys who haven't played together. So you just see some communication breakdowns. But they will still try and press. It's not a team that feeds off of live ball turnovers like VCU in the past, and they've really played slower, which is fascinating. I'm pulling up KenPom right now to see exactly where they are in adjusted tempo because it's been sliding throughout the year, like relative to expectations, and they are 99th nationally in adjusted tempo right now. So they're playing much slower than expected. I mean, here's the metrics. On the defensive end, they're 84th in effective field goal percentage, 118th in turnover percentage. They can give up offensive rebounds at a pretty high clip. I think opposing teams have proven that that's a way to get at VCU a little bit, is on the offensive glass. They're 208th. But they challenge shots well. So 39th in 2-point percentage. 108th in block percentage, 260 in 3-point percentage. So teams have been able to get pretty free on the perimeter against them. And again, I think some of that is just that youth in the backcourt, and some missed assignments and not being able to defend ball screens well. And if you can get a switch in the right matchup, the other teams were able to take advantage of it. So there's definitely some leaks there. And I would imagine this is a pretty high scoring game. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if this was first to 90, which would be
First to
wild.
100. First to 100.
Yeah.
We were just joking about that the other day.
So I was texting with somebody and they said first to 100. I said, I texted Pete that the tempo of this game is going to be outrageous. He said first to 110.
Yeah, that's what I texted back.
I wonder what the over under is.
Oh, good question. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not a gambler at all. But when
I'm only a gambler
48 hours
with
out?
24. I'm only a gambler with my free plays that I get from all the new Missouri gambling sites. I did the no notifications, all that stuff. I had to make sure it was idiot proof.
We're a little bit disappointed, honestly, because this game is so early in the A10 calendar, because this has game of the year written all over it, right? I mean, like I think everybody thinks that. The Siegel Center, I believe, is sold out. SLU has never won there. Neither of us have been there to a game yet. So help us out here. What is it that gives VCU such a home court advantage in that facility?
Is it the dual use as a cafeteria? Does the generic cafeteria smell distract opponents? Like what's going on? What's the voodoo?
The Peppas are awesome. The pep band, right? I don't know. When VC was in the NCAA tournament a few years ago, one of the videos went viral of Ryan Kopachi, who's been the band director for a long time. He was the dude who was taking off the different layers of clothing in succession. And I think the college basketball world got a lot of entertainment out of that. The pep band really is phenomenal. And so they help build the atmosphere too. I think that a lot of VCU fans will tell you that it's not quite what it used to be on a consistency level, in terms of it being an intimidating arena for opposing fans. It can still reach that level, and I think it will on Wednesday because this is such a huge game. But I mean, some of those, and it's never going to be, all games aren't created equal, right? A Sunday afternoon game against Alcorn State, it's not an intimidating environment because people are sleepwalking through it and it's non-conference play, and maybe it's December. But for an A10 game against an opponent that's an enormous opportunity on VCU's schedule, I do think it'll be rocking. And those last 6 minutes against Bonaventure, it was the difference in that game, and Phil Martelli said it was the difference in that game down the stretch. So at its best, it can still be the Siegel Center of old, and the one that I remember, when Will Wade came back for his first game against with LSU, when Shaka Smart came back for his first game with Texas, it was a special place on those nights, and it can still be that, and I think it'll get there on Wednesday, but the consistency has not been as good. Fans got to put together a full 40 minutes, and I think a little part of that too is because I'm not gonna. I don't want to be too critical of the development of the VCU fandom over the years, but they're not so much you had that chip on your shoulder, you had the Broad Street Bullies reputation, you had Havoc, you had feeding off of live ball turnovers and that defined identity. And it's not so much that anymore. Like ever since the Final Four run, it's like, VCU fans will make a lot of jokes about the University of Richmond being like wine and cheese and all that.
Yep.
But VCU has gotten more wine and cheese than it used to be. It has.
They sold out.
And so like
They've gone Hollywood.
It can still be a great environment, but it's not like the snake pit all the time that it was like back in the day during Havoc and live ball turnovers and pressing all the time and Bronte Weber and all that.
I had a question and then I forgot.
No, I think it's interesting. It's almost like your fan base has to, with this new coach, kind of have a mindset shift, right? Like they're used to that defensive style. They've got to go a little more offensive with this one.
And Mike Rhodes played that too, and Will Wade played that like to a degree because they were both on the Final Four staff, right? And so I think part of that evolution has just been like Ryan Odom was the first coach who was a departure from that Shaka Smart coaching tree, right? And so I think the fan base has had to adjust with the evolving identity of the program, and right now it's kind of trying to figure out, because I struggled to answer that question in terms of VCU's defensive identity because I don't know as well anymore as I used to, right? Like it's not as defined as it used to be. And so they're still trying to figure that out and get used to rooting for a team that's putting up, 90 plus points on a regular basis, but isn't nearly as good on the defensive end. It's an identity shift, and I think VCU fans are perhaps having a bit of an identity crisis in that regard, trying to shift their identity in conjunction with how the program has changed.
Yeah.
Fun fact, fun story real quick. The Billiken Pep Band did a contest in the 90s at one of the NCAA tournaments for the title of the world's greatest pep band, and they won. And then they never had the competition again. So the Billiken Pep Band has just introduced itself as the world's greatest pep band. That's awesome. I just want to make sure the Pepis understands who the real captain is.
Can I ask you all a question that I promised my girlfriend I would ask because she asked me to, because I told her I was going on a St. Louis podcast and she looked up the Billiken mascot and got very fascinated by the evolution of it over the years.
Yeah.
So are you guys happy with the current iteration of the Billiken relative to, it's changed twice, right?
More than that.
Yeah. I like it more than most people do. Which is funny because I'm probably the most critical of. They really fucked up when they redid the rebrand because they had the two-tone Billiken. They let, I don't know what happened, but it was a complete, like, if you told me they did it on purpose.
They put this right here on a mascot head and it just looked wrong.
Like fully gray. Full gray,
like
dark gray.
Like Batman Two-Face villain.
Yes, it was horrible.
It didn't work at all. But I will say the new logo, the reason it's pretty good is it really pops on like merch. It looks good from a distance. We've had other iterations of the Billiken that I kind of like better, maybe the design. But if it's on like a golf shirt or a pullover or something from far away, it just doesn't pop like this one does. So I think this one works in that regard really well.
A little more bolder lines. The lines are bolder, not as cartoonish. And I mean the live mascot's fine, but it took a lot to finally like get them to because I mean and that's I could go on. Actually, I have what originally. So my girlfriend got me this for Christmas. This was what I said that they should put out. Like they should just go fully white, forget the gray altogether. But I do actually like the gray kind of because it gives it some depth. It rounds it off a little better. I got three questions, and then we'll let you get out of here. We know who we now know who Terrence Hill is. The Billikens know who Terrence Hill is. Billiken fans should know who Terrence Hill is. Who is someone that we may not be familiar with that could be that guy that just for whatever reason goes off and beats us?
Lazar Djokovic is definitely the next name to mention because he's been outstanding for VCU this year. 6'11", 235. He started his college basketball career at Xavier and then College of Charleston last year. And I think that going into the season, VCU fans were trying to figure out what this front court rotation would look like because you have Keyshawn Mitchell, who came over from Bryant with Martelli. 6'11" junior, kind of wiry, like can operate on the perimeter, but isn't a really physical big down low. And then Christian Furman, who was kind of your like been here for a long time, veteran presence, good rim protector, not a guy that you're going to play through in the post, has always kind of been very offensively limited down low, but is a good defender down there and a big body. And Furman hasn't played. Mitchell's minutes have been really intermittent, and VCU has leaned on Djokovic like a lot harder than I think fans thought they would going into this year. So again, I'm fascinated to see that matchup between him and Avila. Djokovic gets to the line a ton, and VCU, like Martelli talked about this the other day, they didn't they didn't like work on entry passes, a whole lot in the offseason and install an offense around playing through the post. But down the stretch, they did it against Duquesne the other day. And like in crunch time of a lot of games, that's where they go with the ball. Like they're trying to operate through Djokovic in the post. And he can get to the line consistently, solid passer out of the post. Really at 6'11", 235, he's strikingly agile and mobile. So he had a great matchup with Mitchell from Bonaventure the other night, who's been outstanding for them. And Mitchell is more of a traditional, back to the basket, like physical, pounded inside, turnaround hooks in the lane, etc. big. Whereas Djokovic is a stretch five very much, who can shoot it from outside. And their matchup was fascinating. They ended up kind of canceling each other out. Djokovic, 23 points. That was a career high for him. A block and 4 rebounds in that game. 5 of 5 at the line. I'm looking at the box score now. So he'd be the guy who I think VCU fans had a lot of hope for him being a prominent contributor going into this year, but nobody knew that he was going to be what he is right now. He's averaging 13.3 points. That's second on the team behind Hill with 14 points. And 5.2 rebounds. That's tied with Barry Evans, who's another Bryant transfer for the team lead. And then a little over 1 block per game, which leads the team. And so he's very much been the focal point in the front court for VCU. He's going to play heavy minutes. I imagine he'll be matched up with Avila a lot. And so that duo of him and Hill, we've seen a lot of two-man game between the two of them. That's definitely the other name to keep an eye on here. Nick Lewis, I imagine people are getting to know that name, given that he's been A10 Rookie of the Week a few times, but really, really talented young guard who, like I said, has played with like the elite prospects in the country in his age bracket. He's at 10.2 points per game, 2.3 assists, 3.8 rebounds, 1.5 steals, and shooting 33.8% from beyond the arc. And Brandon Jennings, I imagine you guys know that name because he was a contributor for this team last year, just as a freshman under Odom, and he does a little bit of everything. And he only had 2 points against Duquesne after he had a career high 20 against Bonaventure and was like the closer in that game. Ended up 14 of 15 at the free throw line in that game, which tied the program record for made free throws in a game. So he's a guy who can get to the line consistently. Had a team high 5 assists on Saturday. He's one of those like stuff the stat sheet. I think a normal Brandon Jennings line would be like 8 points, 4 assists, 2 blocks, 4 steals, like 6 rebounds, like affects the game all over the court and is kind of that glue guy who does a little bit of everything for them. But those are the first names that come to mind. I'm pretty much just going down the whole roster right now, so stop me if I'm rambling here. But a fascinating thing that I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You said it's fascinating. I got to hear it.
The rotation. I want to know how deep VCU goes in this game because y'all mentioned it as I was looking at the stats before. I was like, wow, Stu's got 5 guys averaging in double figures. Like the minutes dispersion is super spread out. And Martelli has been on both sides of that spectrum this year. Against Bonaventure, he only played 7 dudes. Like the Michael Bell played 20-50 in that game. And he was, that's the least amount of minutes for that game. And then against Duquesne, I think he played 10 or 11 and went back to kind of the rotation that we've seen for a lot of the year. And like I said, Ahmad Noel had 14 points, a big spark in the second half of that game. So I imagine with how deep St. Louis goes, that's more what we see from Martelli, and he'll try and match it, especially to keep up with the tempo too, because obviously you got to play more guys when you're playing at that sort of pace. But that's, I think, what I'd be fascinated to see, and I'll ask Phil about that tomorrow in his press conference. Like, do you feel like you need to go deeper against the St. Louis team because of how many guys y'all are going to run out there and the pace that y'all are going to play at?
So, what's your prediction for this game?
85-83 VCU. And that's cheating because that's what Ken Palm says is going to happen. But I think it's but I don't know. Actually, I'm going to revise that. 92-90 VCU. Because I think that, like we talked about earlier, like VCU is very much still trying to figure out its identity on the defensive end, and they scored 80 plus points 5 games in a row. And if SLU is going to play at that pace, like I do not see Martelli trying to slow this game down. That's against his DNA. Even though this VCU team is 99th in adjusted tempo, which is way below where we expected them to be this year. They started, I think the Ken Pom preseason prediction was like seventh nationally in adjusted tempo. They were supposed to be right there, playing at the pace that St. Louis has, and it's really been a lot slower relative to expectations. But if SLU's trying to get up and down the floor, it's in Martelli's identity and VCU's identity to play with them. And so given y'all's offensive numbers too, and how well VCU has played on that end of the floor, I think defense is going to be at a premium in this one. And I would think that honestly, late in this game, like I could see it being similar to Bonaventure in the sense that like VCU couldn't get stops for a while, and then all of a sudden the crowd like was on its feet for every defensive possession. Like that place was rocking, the environment was really good, and I think that them uplifting VCU to maybe getting some of those key stops in crunch time that they haven't been able to get all game might be the difference here, and we'll get a high scoring tight game with a bunch of lead changes and ties and a really fun basketball game for the neutral observer.
Speaking of really fun for the neutral observer, what did you make of the Phil Russell situation last year?
Phil Russell, bless him, was a master of shithousery for that VCU team. Like I have never covered, and VCU fans have never played with a bigger trash talker. I don't know how many technicals he ended up with last year, but it was a lot. And so people around the VCU program who know Philip Russell were not surprised at all because he would get under opponents' skin, and it helped VCU a lot of the time. But there were definitely moments where they had to try and rein him in and get him off the floor because you could see the emotions bubbling over.
Did you enjoy the fight?
Yeah, it was really funny. Did you guys enjoy the fight?
I thought it was great. I thought genuinely good for the brand. I think
it was big. It was big. We were a national story there for a little bit.
People are wanting to fight at Billiken games. That's when you know you've made it. Like that's serious. Like basketball hooliganism. I love it.
Has it carried over from that game? And now people are trying to make it a thing.
Not necessarily.
That would be awesome, though. Zach,
I think Philip Russell, former St. Louis player.
Yes.
Too, right? So I think that was a smart. And he's from the area. He went to.
He's from.
There was a bunch of his family were in attendance, and then there was
they were in the middle of it.
It was and then some like Vashon kids jumped in too, which was wild. But
and Vashon's a great high school program, but my impression is their what's the right word? Like his on-court persona was reflective of his high school program. There's like shit house.
That's about right.
Yeah, and so I think that was kind of the root of what happened there.
Zach, thanks for joining us this week. Where can our listeners follow you and read your work?
Y'all, thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited for this game. It's my Twitter is just at Zach Joachim. The website's richmond.com for the Richmond Times-Dispatch. And if you search my name, it'll come up, and that's where all the VCU coverage is. I appreciate the opportunity for the plug and to come on and talk some A10 hoops. Let's do it again before VCU comes to SLU. That one's later in the year, right?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Zach.
Thank
you, fellas.
See ya. Billiken fans, we are excited to have some friends of the show, returning favorites, crowd pleasers in every way, shape, or form, back to the show to help preview the LaSalle Explorers, the Gola Boyz with a Z, aka OnlyFans, aka the Gola Standard. It's Dennis and Rich. What's up, guys? Thanks for coming back on the Midtown Madness podcast.
Thanks for having us, Pete.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so it's year one of the Darius Nichols era. It's been tough so far, but how would you rate the job he's done so far?
If you asked us like a week ago how we were feeling, I thought we were not going to win a game in the A10, and every game is going to be a blowout. So far, there's been one second half blowout against GW we just saw, but they were really competitive against George Mason. So it's hard to really say how they will fare in the A10 overall, but at first I was thinking they don't have the pieces, but now I'm coming around to the fact that they might have some guys that that can compete in this conference, which was the biggest hang up for us, right? Our non-conference was really bad. I heard it was the toughest out of all the A10 schools, but
Tougher than ours.
but it doesn't really show for anything right now because there was injuries and issues like that. But Rich, you got anything else for them?
What, they're 4-11 right now. I feel like, comparing Darius to what we had before with Fran Dunphy, it's completely different on, the identity of the rosters where Fran used to have, they're so used to having, good guard where, last year it was, Deuce Jones and Corey McKeithen. And now Darius, he hit the portal hard. He got, I don't know, 11 or 12 guys in the transfer portal. Our most consistent scorer has been, Jaden Marshall, but like in terms of philosophy, it's just completely different. And I'm so used to them playing, 7 or 8 guys, and, they're playing 11, 12 guys. It's just completely different. And I just think after seeing what I've seen so far, it's going to be very tough for them to compete in this era, like with the limited amount of like NIL funds they have. But that's what I think so far. But I was very impressed with their fight against Mason the first game. So that kind of changed my perspective as well. Like I'm a little more optimistic about A10 play from that game. But the GW game brought me back to life, and like, it's going to be a struggle again. So that's where I'm at.
You mentioned a name that A10 fans have become more familiar with the last week or so. Deuce Jones, what do you make of that cluster?
What can you say?
I mean, quite the talent. I believe that there's obviously like truth from LaSalle side, truth from St. Joe's side, and then truth from Deuce's side, and somewhere is the real truth. But I just don't know what his next moves are. I'm like, he was so good. He's just like, he's so good, but the things that we've seen so far, there's so many issues on the side. So it's just like, man, like I guess it's worth it to just not have him. But man, it'd be great to have him still on this team. From a on court perspective, it'd be fantastic to have him on this team. And St. Joe's would probably say the same thing, but there's some issues behind the scenes that made it not worth it, which is sad. I wish that wasn't the case. And it's crazy that you can just kind of peace out halfway through. I don't think he can play the rest of this season. I don't think he can come back to LaSalle, but it's sad that it's like I don't know. You want this kid to thrive, and for whatever reason, the school or himself are causing trouble, and I don't know if we'll see him playing in the A10 again. He
was at the last game. I mean, like all of a sudden it was like, well, wait a minute. Did he not burn bridges at LaSalle? What's going on here?
Well, Fran Dunphy was there too. So Fran goes to a little known fact about Fran, or maybe people know about this in Philly. He goes to as many basketball games as he can. He needs to get out of the house. That's what he says. His wife needs to get him out of the house. So you will see Fran at a majority of like Philly Big Five games. Like you will see him across the city.
How do I get that gig?
It's not a gig. He just loves it.
Yeah, I know the girlfriend just wants me out of the picture. I can go to basketball games. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, really. We saw him talking with Deuce. So like obviously, and I think he was talking with the academic advisor, and there are some people that maybe he remembers, and maybe it was kind of like a olive branch, so to speak. Like I'm a good guy. Like
maybe he just needs to get out of the East Coast.
Maybe
the old Chris Herron situation, albeit less serious.
Hopefully not that bad.
Yeah, hopefully not that bad.
Albeit less cocaine involved.
Yeah. So we wish him all the best. Hopefully that he lands somewhere next season that can mentor him and get him going in the right direction where both parties are happy with the decision.
Yeah. Yeah. So on paper, if I'm kind of like looking at your roster, looking at your stats right now, it looks like LaSalle is one of the poorer shooting teams in the A10, arguably one of the worst in the country right now. What do they do well that SLU should be prepared for? What is the kind of thing that's kind of maybe it doesn't jump out on paper that we might be underrating?
I know rebounding is a priority, right? Rich, you're probably going to say that. Rebounding is a priority. Earlier in the non-conference, and I don't know, Rich, if you've noticed this still, they love to double when they can, like just bring on the pressure in certain opportunities. And it definitely bites them in the ass a lot. Like I'll see them double, and then they obviously a good team can just pass out of it. But you might see Darius throw a few different looks defensively at them. They can throw a lot of rim protectors, a lot of big bodies at them. So I guess that's the strength of this team, and you're going to see maybe some newer looks that maybe you're not used to from a LaSalle team. I think that's really the only identity we have right now is kind of the pressure the random pressure we'll put on, and then rebounding.
Yeah, I feel like they do a decent job of trying to get to the foul line. They really put max effort, like Dennis said, trying to rebound the ball. And I guess another thing I would say, I feel like they pass the ball decently. There's a lot of like ball movement. I feel like I'm struggling to come up with another strength. I would say it's probably those things.
It's they pass too much, Rich, right? When you say
they pass
like
too much. They're always looking
like
for the
they
open
don't take
guy.
the
I feel
shot.
like they're looking too much for the open shot instead of like, well, that was a better shot for you instead of passing the
Too
ball.
many nice guys on the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
You mentioned the versatility, and Nichols seems to be mixing up the starting lineup. And do you see that more as matching up, or is he trying to figure out what he has, who can produce, and who works well together?
So apparently they've been hurt. Like they had so many guys, and they're still missing like Noah Collier and Jose Grullion. And they just got this guy, Jaden Johnson, back. And there was, a lot of hype with him that he's the starting point guard. So he's been mixing and matching as guys have become healthy. And we keep on saying, we're talking to some people like, oh, just wait till they get healthy. Wait to get healthy. But it's like you can only play with the guys you have. So, but I feel like it's a good deal in practice. I feel like they'll start guys who are, playing well in practice. Sometimes they'll be Bill and Beatty, and it's like why is this guy out here? So I feel like it all depends sometimes. I guess who's playing well in practice, and he'll, reward them with starting minutes.
The issue was always at the guard position. So I think it was like Ashton Walker, true freshman, starting a lot of games in the non-conference. And then you have a mix and match of big guys. It's honestly like what Rich said, like what happened in practice. Like whoever rebounded the most in practice probably gets the start. Now that we have Jaden Johnson in, the two Jadens are like locks, I feel like, to start games. Jaden Marshall and Jaden Johnson are like locks to start. And then you've got Truth Harris and maybe Ashton Walker kind of combined as like the other two guards that are out there. And then the big men is like, who knows who's going to be out there to start.
Josiah Harris, I feel like he's probably the most just a big guy.
True.
They have. And then, I don't know, Evan Daniel, he's like a mix. And then you have like guys like Rob Dockery throw in there.
Yeah, it's been 14 different starting lineups in 15 games. I didn't realize how influenced that was by injuries and not, trying to find the right mix or anything like that.
It's probably a combination. It's definitely a combination of both.
Yeah.
Yeah. It must be tough. You can't live like that. Like, I know injuries are no excuse, but you can't. It's hard to get a team in the right rhythm. So, especially on the road or stuff like that cannot be easy.
Is Nichols just running him too hard in practice, or what?
I don't know. I know with rebounding comes a lot of physicality, so I guess that could be a reason. But
stay alert on that.
Yeah,
An
I'll
investigation. An investigation into Darius Nichols' practice policies. I love it.
I don't know. He played at West Virginia. They're known for their physicality, so who knows?
Yeah, they put a lid on the ball on the rim too. Have you seen that where they put put a plug on the rim and it has like little ridges on it, so it bounces randomly. They love that
for rebounding.
Yeah, they love that thing.
So if you guys are kind of like, it's year one of a new coach, it's a transitional year. Have you kind of developed any expectations for next year yet when he's in year two? And you've got a lot of, I know, senior transfers right now that are probably on the way out. It seems like maybe the NIL situation needs a little bit of a boost, but what would you want to see out of him next year?
I feel like at this point, it seems like every year is a transition year for us. So I don't know. But the thing is, I feel like how can you really predict what next year is going to be because of the portal? It's like right now they have 11 guys. I guess I would like stability. I guess that's the answer. I would like stability, right?
More
They
money.
have one guy. I mean that too, but they have one guy coming back.
Me
The only
too.
returning player was Eric Acker, and I feel like he was playing a lot more, and I feel like now he's in the grasping for playing time. I think he got around. I don't know. I think at Mason he got like 11 minutes. I forget what he got yesterday, but I guess it would be nice to have some stability. To have if they can, I think Jaden Johnson is a sophomore and Ashton Walker is a freshman and Eric Acker is a junior. If they can get guys to return and then complement them with other pieces, I think that's what they need to do because NIL is very, very limited. They're going to have a very tough time with that. I saw the figures and they're by far like they're definitely the lowest in the A10. That's what I'm gonna say. So they have a lot of
Billy Bean
challenges.
moment.
They have a lot of challenges with that, right?
Yeah.
So how do you mask that, right? And I think having continuity coming forward and adding pieces with Darius Nichols' system would definitely benefit them going into next year.
What do you see out of the administration from LaSalle? They just renovated obviously Gola Arena to John Glazer Arena. Is there going to be a continued increase in support? Like, is that something they're working on? I mean, like you don't redo the basketball facility and then just say, job done.
No, yeah, you're right.
That's a great question.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
you would think there would be more support with the renovation
Yeah.
than there has been. I feel like you can only go to the well. Some of
You guys should hire Chris May. Yeah,
you can only go to the well some of the key donors so many times.
Right.
So I feel that's a great question.
Yeah, that's the $1 million question. We are in a position where we don't have that many people. Rich and I always say we see the same faces in the building every game, and I'm sure they've been asked many times to throw a few dollars their way. So it's like, I think the ultimate money driving force would be winning, but that's very difficult when you don't have the money. It's a catch-22 every season for us, every single season. So yeah, the new arena is awesome, but
what kind of drugs do you use to cope?
Pool water, chlorine.
Yes.
The fumes
chlorine
are enough.
Yeah.
Well, that's why you have the new LK Easy H2O.
Exactly.
You'll know it's not water.
That's filtered. That's filtered Gola pool water, natatorium.
That's right. It's a tough situation. You got to get through it. We've seen a lot of crap recently. It's very difficult to be a fan of this team. I'll tell you that much.
What's the concession stand situation like there?
Not
they
bad.
improved? Did they improve it with the renovations?
I think the prices have always been low. Don't tell them that. Maybe they'll raise them, and that's how we'll pay for NIL.
I mean,
but
they got another one. I mean, there's like one in like the main kind of mezzanine area, and there's one in the stadium. But in terms of offerings, it's pretty much the same. They didn't really add anything to the menu.
I like it. Didn't they have sushi one day? I think it was an experiment, but they had
What?
like sushi. They have fridges. They have like grab and go
Yeah.
fridges. Think like an airport,
Yeah.
or whatever. Like that's in that corner inside.
Slushy, Pete. They should do in shape it's
creative.
slushy.
I don't know how
That's
they
the
haven't hired
marketing.
you yet, Zach.
I mean, maybe it's my constant bitching.
Maybe that's why. But this all leads to, I think, another key question here. We saw your post stating that LaSalle installed a mobile charging station next to the LK Easy H2O bottle filling station, surface mount filtered, non-refrigerated stainless model LZWSSM.
That's
So
right.
For any SLU fans that might be making the trek to Philadelphia for the game, are there any devices that might not be compatible with this charging station?
I haven't used it yet.
Okay.
And uh,
Because you're a grown man who charges his phone before he leaves the house.
oh yeah, but I'll try it next game, or I'll attempt to try it. I think it's hilarious how it's just plugged in below the.
It's just at the
You can
wall.
unplug both easily.
Yeah, it's pretty. I noticed that about the two cords just going to the same spot.
I love it. I love it. I'll have to experiment. I'll keep you posted on what
Okay.
devices it supports. I'd imagine since they just installed it, it should handle the latest iPhone device and the latest Android. But
Well,
They
the
got
latest,
a used one.
Yeah, that's the thing. What if I brought an old phone? You know, like just an old iPhone I forgot about.
Can I charge my Crazer?
yeah, yeah. Good luck with that, Nokia. I don't know, man.
Who? Let's hypothetically speaking, LaSalle comes out and beats SLU. Who is the guy on this LaSalle team that could come out of nowhere to lead Darius Nichols' squad and your beloved LaSalle Explorers to a win at John Glazer Arena on Saturday?
I mean, we want Jaden Johnson to become the guy. That's what everyone touts him as. But for that reason, people might not know about him because he hasn't played yet. He's only played 2 games, so nobody maybe has heard the name yet. But if you're talking about somebody who has been playing since the non-conference, Rich, I know I didn't mention him, Eric Acker, who is the only holdover from last year. He had a nice showing. I forget against who, but I feel like he played really well. Was he the leading scorer, or at least went off for like a half? Like he could not miss at the beginning of the game. I thought Eric Acker had a nice ball game the one day, and I could see him maybe like taking over with some mid-range shots. I forget the game though. I'd have to pull up those stats.
That's interesting that you say that, the mid-range shots, because that is exactly what SLU's looking to give up.
Okay. I was going to ask you, what area is SLU weekend that LaSalle could potentially attack?
I mean, they could definitely attack the mid-range. I think it's just kind of the way SLU's defense runs. They run it very analytically, and so they're going to try to stop the three and try to stop the shot at the rim.
We don't shoot many threes. We shoot about 15 threes a game.
Well, so in the last game against St. Joe's, the things that didn't go well, Schertz wasn't pleased with our defense at all in that game. But if you want to look at something statistically, we gave up 14 offensive rebounds. We gave up 9 in the first half. So some of those were, they got some weird bounces. It's not like guys were way out of position. But that's definitely something that, we had been playing kind of cupcakes for the whole month of December. And then you play a team like St. Joe's. They're not great, but they've got some actual athleticism and size. And so defensive rebounding was definitely an issue. The other thing, Zach,
you wouldn't call St. Joe's a cupcake?
Well, they kind of. I don't think I'd call them a.
No.
We were coming off games.
Weren't you like a 20? Weren't you like a big favorite, like over a 20-point favorite? So I wasn't consider.
Sure. But we were
the...
coming off a game against like a bad D3 team.
Okay,
you know what I mean? We had played New Hampshire was the last D1 team we played. So St. Joe's actually did look different to us. Like, wow, they actually are bigger and more athletic and all of that. But the other thing SLU doesn't do at all is force turnovers. That's certainly a deficit for this team, Zach. I mean, what else are we forgetting?
No, we're really good.
So Stanford's the team that
stop bragging, humble brag there.
What I will say, well, I guess this game, yeah, it's on the road. SLU has not really proven yet that they shoot well away from Chaffetz Arena, so that's something that has us a little bit nervous as we go back out on the road a lot more. Stanford threw a lot of zone at SLU, and then would so SLU wants to either shoot a 3 or score at the rim, nothing else. And so Stanford, what they were kind of doing is baiting SLU into bad shots at the rim. They played a zone on us a decent amount, and then would kind of collapse on us when we would try and get layups at the rim, and we just weren't getting into that natural flow. So if you want to kind of get to that game shape, so those are kind of some problematic areas. But the thing that makes me nervous is we're just not super battle tested. And so, yeah, we score a ton. We're super efficient. The metrics look great everywhere, but against a soft schedule.
You said that they don't force turnovers?
SLU doesn't know.
No,
Only forced
okay.
6 against St. Joe's, and then for the season, they've turned it over more than they've forced. It's not a huge margin, but yeah,
Okay.
most games were on average 1 or 2 behind.
The Mason game's interesting. Mason did not commit a single turnover against LaSalle, and we
I
only
saw that.
committed 4 turnovers. That was Jaden Johnson's debut as our point guard. So he did not commit a turnover. The team as a whole only committed 4. So this might be a pretty clean basketball game if
I don't
that's what
know.
you're predicting.
I feel like that's an outlier. I mean, I feel like that's insane.
Mason's a fraud.
Is
Mason's a
he-
fraud.
4
is-
turnovers is insane.
Is he a pure point guard though? Because I'm looking at his stats at Old Dominion, and he was not much of a shooter. He was only 37% from the field, 18% from 3.
Yeah.
So is it just he did
Kick and penetrate.
Right.
He just
Okay.
penetrates and
Yeah,
kicks.
he's like a floor general.
Yeah.
I think the most important question here is what's the water temperature at game time in the Gola Natatorium? What's the forecast?
It's balmy down there. Is that the right word? You gotta try and you gotta try and get there. Like have you been? You've never been. You gotta try and get there.
No,
We want
you
to
just gotta go.
That really was when we saw the schedule this year. That was from I travel with a
weekend.
group of friends once a year, and we were targeting that one, but it just didn't work out.
Yeah, all good. Yeah, you don't know that the pool is underneath these days. Since post renovation, Rich, have you smelled the chlorine or felt the chlorine?
No, I don't even know
The
what's
heat?
there.
I haven't really. But
they
it's
put
hot.
in
It's
a nice.
humid.
They upgraded the filter,
Yeah,
the air filter.
definitely.
Yeah.
The HVAC is really good now. I'm no longer sweating up there.
What's the duct work like?
Oh, it's nice.
is
Really
it-
high quality ductwork.
They painted
Yeah.
over it, right? Like you don't see it as much anymore.
Yeah, it's all black above. It's blue below and then black above.
I really
Oh,
like
that's
what they
right.
did. I genuinely like.
It looks
No
great on
joke.
screen.
I think it looks very, very nice.
Yes, it looks like we belong in the A10 finally, but our team doesn't necessarily have all the roster pieces to. But I'll take it. I'll take the look. At least we look cool.
Hell yeah, brother. Hey guys, we love talking to you. We love interacting with you on Twitter. It'll always be Twitter. Where can our listeners follow you guys?
So we're at the Gola Standard on Twitter/X, and the podcast is also the Gola Standard. You can also type in OnlyFans on Twitter or X. But hey, we're thinking about as we know, like we're going to go on the road. Our road trip this year will be at St. Louis. So we're really looking forward to that, and I think we're going to try and do like a little blog of our journey so far. I forget the exact count, but we only have I think 3 or 4 schools remaining for us to visit on our road trip. So we might have to log all of these adventures and kind of rate our experiences as far as water fountains and pools.
We've got bottle fillers. We've got 2
Okay.
bottle fillers.
Good to
Yeah, you're
know.
gonna have to show them around, Zach.
Yeah, I will show you where the good bottle fillers are.
Perfect.
Yeah,
you guys
definitely.
Have you guys been to Dayton yet?
I was there for first 4 in 2013 when they
Okay.
were on the road to the Sweet 16, but I
Got
never
it.
saw LaSalle versus Dayton in Dayton Arena.
Okay, just curious.
Was that a more pleasant experience?
It was yeah. I mean, there's no Dayton fans there, so yeah.
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
And they won.
It's the best time to go to UD Arena.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
No, well, hit me up for sure. And of course, I mentioned Pappy's Smokehouse. We gotta. Well, let's link up there at least. Thank you all for dropping in, and we will talk to you this week and see you soon.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Thanks, yes.
Pete, let's kick it around the A10. The first week of A10 action. I am so hyped to be in conference play.
We got a little bit of all of the A10, Zach, too. We got good games, we got bad games, we got some season threatening upset potential. We had it all.
Yes, I will go ahead and talk about Tuesday and Wednesday and then kick it over to you for Saturday and Sunday. Pete, it got really weird this week, like you said, but it opened up with maybe the game of the year.
Fantastic game.
89-83, Duquesne beats Davidson in double overtime. This game looked like it was going to go either way by a lot at one point, even after the final buzzer of regulation went off.
Yeah, Yeah, it was a game of huge swings. We got 2 overtimes, and it felt like everybody in the conference was watching it too.
Wednesday, the 31st, Loyola beats Rhode Island 61-57. Unbelievable. We talked about this last week, and with VCU, or not with VCU, with who did we talk to last week? Goodness.
Last week
Yeah.
we talked to St. Joe's, Hawk Hill Hardwood.
Yeah, we talked to Hawk Hill Hardwood, and we said that Loyola kind of ended the year on a cliffhanger, with that 3-point win over Santa Clara. What was going to happen in 2026? And the Grim Reaper is claiming souls out here already.
Yeah, that might be the one that puts Archie Miller on an inevitable path to not having his contract renewed or cut off early, I should say.
Yes. Dayton 63, Fordham 56. Flyers escape a minor scare. Basically, just what they did all this week is just escape scares. They let Fordham hang around a little too close the whole time and ended up not finding out in the end. George Mason 80, LaSalle 75. Another major scare escaped. That seems to be the going trend this week, is that road teams, that was a LaSalle home game. Yeah. So LaSalle led almost the entire game and then apparently decided to burn clock. And we talk about it a little more in our conversation with the Gola Boyz. VCU 89, Bonaventure 82. VCU, again, escaping a major scare, except this time at home. Bonaventure scoring dried up in the last 6 minutes. We talked a little bit about that with Joachim. And then George Washington 99, Richmond 85 at Richmond. Again, it was a bit of a scare for the Colonials / Hippos / Revolutionaries.
It was, but they can really, really score, Zach. 99 points is a number that jumps out to me. Saturday the 3rd, George Washington, not quite the same offensive output at LaSalle, but they held LaSalle to just 55 points while scoring 77. VCU, meanwhile, scored 93 at Duquesne, allowing 80 points. That game was close for a while, but VCU kind of pulled away. A game that I don't know what to make of this game, Zach. The entire game, everyone was talking like this was the final nail in Dayton's coffin for at-large chances on the season. Dayton 70, Loyola 68. Loyola led almost the entire game. I think it went back and forth early on. Loyola led all the way up until the end. Dayton used a late run and a Javon Bennett layup in the last 2 seconds to win it. Neither team looked very convincing. My takeaway from that game is SLU needs to go 4-0 against those two teams. But Dayton's a little banged up right now. Maybe they'll be healthier when we run into them. George Mason 61, Rhode Island 50. Yep, there's another data point. Archie might be cooked. Davidson 62, St. Joe's 56. I don't know why I was kind of pulling for St. Joe's to win that one. Maybe because we just played them, but we play all these teams, so I guess it doesn't really matter in the
They're
end.
the home team. I feel like you want the home team to generally win. I feel like it won't affect the metrics as much, maybe. I don't know.
That's true. Yeah. Sunday the 4th, we only had one game. It was Richmond 83, Fordham 75, Zach. Sounds like you watched this one.
Yeah, Richmond shot an impressive 13 and 19 from 3, despite being flummoxed at multiple points in the game by a Fordham zone. Figure that one out.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, this is just another week in the A10, another bizarro, sicko ass week in the A10.
Yep. It really was.
I cannot wait for this coming week.
It's just gonna be wild all season long. All we can do is win our games because we're not going to get the help we want from anybody else.
Well, I understand that the A10 isn't the best basketball in the country, but I'll be damned if it isn't the most entertaining shit show in the country.
It's a very entertaining product. You don't get this in the Missouri Valley.
I do want to mea culpa with NBC Sports over the Wiener Pill commercial, because I do very much enjoy their actual broadcast product.
It is good.
It is
I agree with
very
that.
good. I got a couple texts this week that were like, I forgot that NBC's product is actually really like visually, it's very, very
It's a
good.
great broadcast.
Things that are great, Pete.
Yeah. I think I know what you're going to say, Zach.
Yeah, I'm
Great-
talking about great salsa, great pickles.
Yeah. It's a great product that you should enjoy during an NBC Sports broadcast of A10
Oh, it's
basketball.
beautiful.
But what's on my mind this week, Zach, is the smoky barbecue pickles. I've got an open jar in my fridge right now. And what I kind of like is there's a little bonus element to it because they put so many sliced onions in the jar with the pickles. I it's all part of the formula. They're kind of weird. They're fun. They're great. I can't help snacking on them. But what I want to do next time, because they've got all these little onions in there, I've got to get a jar of this in the summertime when I'm making burgers, pulled pork, things like that more often. Because I have a hunch that those onions in there, those kind of sweet and smoky onions, throw those on a burger, a pulled pork sandwich, or even just on the side. It's like the kind of thing you'd get if you got a little like kind of aluminum tray at a barbecue restaurant. You get some pickled onions in the corner of your tray next to the brisket, next to the mac and cheese, next to the beans and coleslaw and all that. I think those in the jar of pickles, they're kind of a bonus, would go perfect with summer barbecue kind of flavors. Find out for yourself. Go to twomeningarden.com. Use the code MMP at checkout. Get free shipping. It works. We've tried it. It's a little wonky leading up to it, but trust me, it works. I've taken advantage of it already. MMP to get free shipping on their already low shipping rate. So twominutegarden.com. Try the smoky barbecue pickles. You're not going to be disappointed. Trust me on that. twominutegarden.com.
Pete, a little trivia question before we get to women's basketball. What A10 opponent for what A10 opponent did we draw 9,000 at least 9,000 the last time?
The last time we drew 9,000, was it Dayton?
No, not sorry. A10, non-Dayton, non-VCU. I'm sorry. That's my fault.
Got it.
It's my fault.
Boy, I don't know what that would be. Maybe was there wow, I don't know, Zach. I wasn't prepared to think about this. But I'll say there was St. Joe's.
It was not St. Joe's. It was 1920, the 2019-2020 season.
Oh, I thought you meant
it was
1920 as in one of our first seasons ever.
Yes,
okay.
yes. St. Bonaventure.
Okay.
It was a crowd of 9,274.
Wow. Okay.
And then Seton Hall had 9,600.
That was right before the pandemic.
Yes.
Wow.
So,
okay.
I mean, so just throw up another excuse.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm remembering that stretch of it was at the stretch of games leading up to the conference tournament where we were playing really well. Yeah. Okay. I remember that game now.
Yeah. This spreadsheet that was sent over is just so much fun to look through. Wow. I sounded exactly like West Pine Bills there.
What a nerd.
Let's talk women's basketball, Pete. A 72-62 win at Duquesne Wednesday, the 31st, New Year's Eve. Again, I mean, the first half was downright hard to watch, but I mean, the result, I'm shocked.
A road win is a road win, right? Yeah. Duquesne turned it over 17 times in the first half to 10 for SLU. SLU had been shooting really good lately, but was 2 for 17 from 3 in the first half. But luckily, Zach, they found that shot in the third quarter, going 6 of 10 from outside, in large part due to some great ball movement. So they were able to kind of flip the script. And I was tempted to turn this thing off after halftime. It was a rough one, but I'm glad I didn't.
The Billikens scored 26 in the third quarter after scoring 25 in that entire first half. They unfortunately got away from what was working in the fourth, trying to force things offensively and letting Duquesne back into it after building a 13-point lead early in the quarter. They did. They didn't ever give up the lead in this one, despite letting that lead shrink as far as you could really go. I think it was within 4 at one point in the middle of the fourth. Zaya Nugent was SLU's leading scorer with 19 and 6. Zaya Nugent is certainly a basketball player. She's interesting to watch. Alexia Nelson finished with 13 points and a game high 8 assists. She also had led the Billikens with 4 steals. I think Alyssa Kirkenmeyer won the head-to-head battle with Duquesne center forward. She had a double-double with 11 points, 11 rebounds, and 4 blocks. She did turn the ball over five times, though. She hasn't yet learned how to pass out of the post. Maybe we can get her working with Robbie or Paul.
For sure.
Jada Dennis ended up with 16 points. She went a perfect 8 of 8 from the free throw line. She didn't have her best day from the field, only going 3 of 11. We are hard on Belle Tillett, but she does deserve credit for her passing. She does bring that at a high level. And it was a big part of getting open looks from 3 in that third quarter. Kira Brown was back after missing a game, was limited to 11 minutes. She started the second half, but came out after about 2 minutes. We didn't see her again. Obviously she didn't look fully healthy. She was 0 of 6 from 3 and 1 of 8 overall. This Billiken team fouls too much. They were bigger and more physical overall than Duquesne, but they had this team beat earlier if they just played better defensively, more straight up. This is the first time Tillett has beaten Duquesne and SLU's first win in Pittsburgh since 2019. So before the last time men's basketball drew 9,000 for a conference game against not Dayton or VCU. And this is the first 2-0 start in A10 play since 2017 and 18. Would we just play like the best team in conference to start the year every time? I feel like we had some damn good teams.
Yeah, we've definitely had some decent teams over that stretch. That's a stat that like did not make any sense to me. I guess we were just unlucky with the early schedule.
Talk about this Davidson game on Saturday the 3rd. I especially want to talk about the point of this game where I would look away for 5 minutes and I'd come back and it was the same score, or the Billikens would have the same number of points. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's horrible. And that's the part of the game I actually didn't see. I missed the first quarter, but Jada Tiggett was unavailable for this game. She was on the sideline in a walking boot. I don't have more details on her injury yet, but that certainly doesn't help. With an already
we're doing this again, aren't we?
Short roster. Yep. SLU started 2 of 20, Zach, which explains that phenomenon of you walking in and out and seeing the same score up there. They only scored 7 points in the first quarter, but managed to still be within single digits at halftime, 28-20. Just, again, ugly half. For the second time in a row, SLU scored 1 more point in the third quarter than they did in the entire first half. And it was 48-41 after 3. Closed the margin a little bit, but then Davidson went on a big run to open the fourth quarter, and that was pretty much it. To SLU's credit, 3-point shooting is Davidson's specialty, and it really wasn't a factor in this game until they went 3 of 6 in the fourth. SLU did well to take away that perimeter, but Davidson moves the ball really well, scored 44 points in the paint compared to just 20 for the Billikens. They outshot the Bills dramatically because of that. 53% from the field compared to just 32% for SLU. Dayton's a little bit better defensively than I gave them credit for coming into this game. Both teams struggled with turnovers, but Davidson was able to capitalize more than SLU, going 17-12 in points off turnovers, despite SLU having 2 more overall for the game. Jada Dennis led SLU with 18 points and 5 rebounds, but she went 0 of 6 from 3. Brown was SLU's only other double-digit scorer with 11 points on 3 of 4 shooting from outside. So it was the freshman who did all the scoring in this one. Kirkenmeyer struggled against an experienced athletic front court. However, she ended up with 7 and 5 in 21 minutes and was battling foul trouble. So I think that was part of it too. Just ran into some experience there. Nelson and Nugent, meanwhile, were held to a combined 14 points, with Nelson going 1 of 10 from the field. Zach, I think the bottom line here is Davidson's just a better team. They were picked to be a a top 3 team in the league, and it's shaping up to be like that. They're more skilled, more experienced, even if it was some of their younger rotation in this game who stood out. SLU, to their credit, shut their top scorer down. The Australian, what is her name? I'm slipping on her name at the moment, but
No idea.
yeah, nonetheless, they did a good job of shutting her down. Just Davidson was too deep and had too much.
Next up for the Bills, they'll host VCU for youth basketball night on Wednesday, the 7th. The Rams are not good, unlike their male counterparts. Just 4-11 overall and 0-3 in the A10 with losses to LaSalle, St. Joe's, and George Mason. And those aren't 3 of the teams that you alluded to a minute ago.
No.
The only teams they've beaten this year are American. Well, at least they beat a whole country. Maine, Howard, they beat a guy.
Yeah.
And then
Nice
Maryland
guy,
Eastern
Howard.
Shore. Yeah. Mariana Asari is their star, averaging 17.7 points per game. She just got back from a 5-week stint on the injured list. So she might not be 100%, but she's back to being their number one. The 5'8" senior guard mostly wants to score inside. She just isn't the most efficient 3-point shooter. You can't put her at the free throw line. She will feast. She's automatic. The clear number 2 on this roster is Katarina Nezevich, a 6-foot wing averaging 11.6 and 4.8 rebounds a game. She's an inside out threat and actually shoots at a higher percentage from outside. It's at all role players beyond those two. Not much to be intimidated by. They're not bad inside, but Kirkenmeyer. They've got a couple 6'2" forwards, but Kirkenmeyer. They draw fouls and shoot free throws well as a team. They aren't great on the glass. They don't block shots. They turn it over a ton. Kirkenmeyer. I keep the open court pressure on this team, speed them up, and force them to make mistakes. That's kind of been till its identity.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that'll work against this team. And it should against Loyola as well, Zach, on Sunday, January 11th. It will be at Loyola. The Ramblers are struggling this year, just like the men's team. But unlike the men, they're trending in the wrong direction. They're now 4-10, having lost 3 straight. Then they head to Dayton before playing SLU. They're 0-3 in the A10 so far, but to be fair, they've probably played the 3 best teams in Richmond, Davidson, and Rhode Island. Their only wins this season, oddly enough, have been against DePaul and Northwestern, in addition to Oakland and Milwaukee. So they are capable of some big game performances, but they struggle to score. They average under 53 points a game. They play a really slow pace, and they defend. Remember you saying that the Loyola SLU game a couple seasons, was that last year or the year before, was the ugliest game you've ever seen?
Oh, that was the year they went to the NCAA tournament.
Oh, so 3 seasons ago?
Yeah.
So
was one of the worst things I've ever seen.
I'm hoping for not a repeat of that, because this is a bad Loyola team, but they play really slow. They defend pretty well. They hold teams to under 63 a game. They're a bad shooting team, just 36% from the field. Abysmal 24.4% from 3. Less than 1 in 4 of their 3-point attempts goes in. It's terrible. They're even a little below average from the free throw line, about 64%, but they're really young. They have 2 players averaging 11.1 points a game to lead the team, and those are a 6'2" freshman and a 5'11" sophomore. The next 2 leading scorers are a sophomore and a junior. So look, they want to slow it down, take away the perimeter, force teams into bad shots late in the clock. They generally do well to keep games close, even against better teams like Richmond, Davidson. They didn't get completely blown out in all of those games. If SLU moves the ball well and takes good shots, I think they should win this for sure. But I would also try and speed them up, as with VCU, use some pressure on them. So, Zach, I think bottom line here, SLU has a good opportunity for a 2-win week. These might not be pretty games, but SLU should be the better team in both. And if you can have a 4-1 record in conference, I think that's a good starting point.
Pete, I just want to talk about Loyola schedule before we hang up here.
Yeah.
I love it. If we're going to have a shitty schedule, this is the kind of schedule I want. Like, they have Milwaukee, Green Bay, Illinois State, UIC, DePaul, Western Michigan, Oakland, Northwestern, Austin P. Those are all insanely drivable games for them.
Yeah, I think of all the ones you just named, Oakland and Austin P are the farthest away. All of those others are within a 3-hour drive.
And those aren't all away games. Like I'm just
yeah, you're right.
They're
Yeah.
probably ones that they have home and homes with, which
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I didn't mention they had Connecticut and Maryland Eastern Shore, but again, yeah, I think
that's a lot of really close opponents though. That's cool.
What did they lose to Connecticut by? Oh, 85-31.
There you go.
All right. That is going to do it for us this week, Pete. Slow basketball week on the court. This next week it ramps up. And we're going to have trouble keeping up with interviews once we get 2 games a week.
Yeah, we are. Although the next, I think it's like Richmond and Fordham the week after this, and those are a little. We have kind of our go-tos for some other teams, but not as much with theirs. So we got to figure that out.
All right, roll Bills.
Roll Bills.